The unprovoked attack. The sleek silhouette of the Curiosity glided silently through the star-speckled void, its hull gleaming under the light of a distant sun. Captain Alina Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display. Before her, the scientific vessel had ventured farther than any human ship before, pushing the boundaries of known space and humanity's endless quest for knowledge. Status report. Alina called out, her voice steady despite the excitement bubbling. Her Dr. Aiden Chin, the ship's lead scientist, responded without looking up from his console. All systems nominal, Captain. We're detecting some unusual Langi signatures from the nearby asteroid field. It could be exactly what we've been looking for, Alina nodded. A smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. The Curiosity had been dispatched to investigate strange phenomena at the crucidige of charted space. If their hunch was correct, they might be on the verge of a groundbreaking discovery. Take us in closer, helmsman. Nice and easy, she ordered as the Curiosity approached. The energy readings intensified. The crew worked with practice. Deficiency, each member focused in their tasks. This was what they had trained for. What? They had dreamed of thrill, of exploration, of pushing back the frontiers of human knowledge. Suddenly alarms blared across the bridge. Red warning lights bathed the crew in an ominous glow. Multiple ships. De Cloakinth tactical officer shouted, his fingers flying over his console. They're not in nor database, Captain. Unknown configuration. Alina's heart raced, but her voice remained calm. Hail them all frequencies. Before the communications fight could comply, a brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the lead alien vessel. It struck the Curiosity with pinpoint accuracy, slicing through the ship. Shields like they weren't even there. The impact threw Alina off her feet. She scrambled up, coughing as acrid smoke filled the bridge to Mog. Report, we've lost main power, Aiden replied, his face pale in the emergency lighting. Hull breach on decks 3 through 5. Weapons and shields are offline. Alina Gr. Her teeth. The Curiosity was a scientific vessel not built for combat. They were defenseless against this unprovoked attack. Send out a distress call, all canals, and prepare to evacuate. But the alien ships weren't finished. They swarmed around the crippled Curiosity, firing volley after volley. Each impact shook the ship violently, and Alina could hear the agonized groans of metal giving way. Captain, Ateen said, his voice barely above a whisper. I've identified the ships. They there from the Arcturus Empire. Alina felt her blood run cold. The Arcturians were known throughout the galaxy as conquerors, a species that saw others only as potential subjects or threats to be eliminated, but they had never ventured this close to human space before. Did our distress call get through? She asked, clinging to a faint hope. The communications officer shook her head. Negative, Captain. They're jamming all frequencies. Another hit rocked the ship, and Alina knew they were out of time. All hands abandon ship. Get to the escape buds. As the crew rushed to comply, Alina remained on the bridge, frantically Earth's hidden arsenal treeing to salvage what data she could, the information they had gathered, the reason for the Aruan presence here. It could be vital for Earth's defense. The Curiosity shuddered again, and warning klaxons screamed of imminent structural failure. Alina finally turned to leave, but a final blast sent her sprawling as darkness closed in. Her last thought was of Earth, and the warning thee would never receive. Thousands of light years away, in the halls of power in Earth, the destruction of the Curiosity registered as little more than a blip on a sensor screen. Another ship lost to the dangers of deep space exploration. Or so they thought. They couldn't have known that this was Merilitha, opening move in a game that would change the fate of humanity forever. The Arcturus Empire had made its first strike, testing the defenses of what they saw as a young upstart species, but they had gravely underestimated their chosen enemy. Humanity had faced extinction before, had clawed its way up from the moon to reach the stars and deep beneath the surface of Mars. Hidden from prying eyes lay a secret that would soon remind the galaxy why it was unwise to provoke it. Human race, as news of the Curiosity's destruction slowly made its way back to Earth's, gears began to turn in hidden bunkers and secret facilities. Dust-covered consoles flickered to life. Silent sentinels of humanity's past stirred, ready to meet the threat that now loomed on the horizon. The Arcturus Empire had made a fatal mistake. They thought they were dealing with a fragile, peace-loving species. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Earth's hidden Arsenal, the somber atmosphere in the United Earth Defense Council chamber was palpable. Admiral Zar, a veteran off countless space battles, stood rigid before the assembled leaders, her weathered face a mask of control. Danger, the destruction of the Curiosity was no accident, she declared, her voice cutting through the murmurs of the council members. Our analysis confirms it was a deliberate attack, ATT, by the Arcturus Empire. Gasps and muttered curses filled the room. The Arcturians were known, feared even, but they had always kept their distance from human-controlled space. Until now, how did they get so close without us noticing? Demanded Counselor. Duh. Sharma, his usual calm demeanor shaken. Admiral, Vega's jaw tightened. They've developed some form of advanced cloaking technology. By the time we detected them, it was too late. Therum erupted into chaos, voices rising in fear and anger. It was Counselor Elena Chen who finally brought order back to the proceedings. What are our options? Admiral Vega took a deep breath. What she was about to propose went against everything the United Earth government stood for, but these were desperate times. There is one option, she began hesitantly. Project Lazarus. The mention of that name sent a chill through the room. Most of the younger council members looked confused, but the older ones pallid. Visibly. Project Lazarus was decommissioned decades ago, Counselor Chen said, her voice barely above a whisper. We swore never to awaken those things again. Admiral Vega nodded grimly. But we never dismantle them. They still sleep, waiting for the day we might need them again. For those unaware, Project Lazarus was humanity's a project. The Lazarus' darkest secret in the early days of space exploration, when the threat-soft universe seemed overwhelming, Earth had created a fleet of warships unlike anything seen before or since. Massive automated vessels powered by experimental AI cores, each capable of facing down entire enemy fleets. But the power of these ships had proven too great, too terrible in peacetime. They were seen as a liability, a temptation, could lead humanity down a dark path, and so they were hidden away, buried beneath the surface of Mars. Their very existence erased from all but the most classified records. You can't be your Counselor, Sharma protested. Those ships are relics of a more barbaric time. We're better than that now. Admiral Vega's eyes flashed. Are we the Arcturians? Didn't seem to think so when they destroyed the Curiosity they've already declared. Worth question is, are we prepared to fight back? Silence fell over the chamber. Asked, weight of the decision pressed down on them all. It was Counselor Chen who finally spoke. Show us, she said quietly. Show us Project Lazarus. Hours later, a select group of council members found themselves deep beneath the Martian surface, as blast doors groaned open, revealing a cavernous hangar bathed in dim red emergency lighting. Audible gasps echoed through the group. Before them stood row upon row ships, their sleep lines and massive forms dwarfing anything in Earth's current fleet. Each was easily the size of a small city, bristling with weapon systems that defied easy classification. Admiral Vega led them to the nearest ship at Alol, marked with the name Nemesis. This, she said, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and trepidation, is humanity's true strength. A fleet built not just for defense, but for absolute victory. As the group moved closer, panels on the ship's hull began to glow faintly, as if the vessel itself was awakening from a long slumber. The AI cores, Vega explained, they're aware O4 presence in a way they've been waiting for us. Counselor Chen Richet out, her hand hovering just above the ship's surface. How quickly can they be made ready? That's the beauty of it, Vega replied. They've been maintaining themselves all these years. With your authorization, we could have the entire fleet operational within days. The implications were staggering. Earth had gone from being nearly defenseless against the Arcturus threat to potentially having the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. As the council members debated in hushed tones, Alohan began to fill a hangar. The Nemesis and its sister ships were coming to life here. Systems spinning up after decades of dorky lights flickered across their halls, and deep within, fusion reactors began to pulse with barely contained energy. Counselor Chen turned to Admiral Vega, her expression resolute. Do it, awaken them all. But remember, Admiral, these ships are a means to an end. Our goal is peace, not conquest. Vega nodded solemnly. Understood, Counselor Ariel. Begin preparations immediately. As the group made their way back to the surface, none could shake the feeling that they had just changed the course of human history. For better or worse, Project Lazarus was awakening in orbiter. Mars Arcturus scout ships wash with growing alarm as energy readings from the planet's surface spiked to unprecedented levels. Their mission had been simple: observe the humans, assess their defenses. What they were witnessing, defied all their intelligence. Reports as the first of the Lazarus ships burst from beneath Mars' surface. In a plume of red dust and crackling energy, the Arcturus scouts realized their graver they had poke. Herself, a small, grim smile. Your intelligence was outdated. This is your elite warning. Leave our space immediately, or face the consequences. The Arcturus commander expression shifted to one of contempt. You dare threaten the might of the Arcturus Empire. Your pathetic fleet will burn, and your worlds will follow. As the transmission cut off, Vega turned to her crew. Battle Stations A, initiate combat protocols. What followed was a display of firepower unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Lazarus ships moved as one, their A-cores working in perfect harmony. Beams of concentrated energy lashed out, cutting through airless shields like paper swarms of autonomous drones. Deployed surrounding enemy ships and exploiting every weakness, the Arcturus fleet, for all its numbers, found itself outmatched. Their weapons, so effective against the Curiosity, barely scratched the advanced shielding of the Lazarus ships. Their tactics, honed over centuries of conquest, were countered before they could even be fully implemented. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Vega watched the battle unfold with a mixture of pride and sadness. Pride in humanity's achievement in their ability to defend themselves. Sadness at the necessity of such violence. Admiral Aria's voice cut through her thoughtsome, detecting a power buildup in the Arcturus. Flagship analysis suggests they're preparing to use some form of super weapon. Vega's decision was immediate: target their flagship. All Arcturus retreat ships concentrate. Fire the Nemesis and its sister ships pivot, voted as one. Their main guns aligning on a single point, the space between. The fleets lit up as lances of energy converged on the Arcturus flyship. For a moment it seemed as if the alien, a vessel, might withstand assault. Then, with a flash brighter than a newborn star, it detonated. The shockwave rippled through the Arcturus fleet, disabling or destroying dozens of ships in its wake. As the light faded, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield's remaining Arcturus ships hung motionless, as if in shock. Their retreating Commander Khan announced, disbelief evident in his voice. Theantir. Arcturus fleet is in full retreat. Cheers erupted across the bridge, but Vega remained silent, her eyes fixed on the devastation before her. They had won, yes, but at what cost, and what would come next? As if sensing her thoughts, Aya spoke, its voice softer than usual. Admiral Endek, numerous distress signals from disabled Arcturus ships. Your orders. Vega straightened. Her decision made. Dispatch Rusk teams, offer aid to any ship that surrenders. We'll show them that humanity can be merciful as well as powerful as the Lazarus fleet moved to assist their former enemies. News of the battle spread across Ross. Human space humanity had faced its greatest threat and emerged victorious. The sleeping giant was awakened. The galaxy would never be the same, but for Admiral Zara and the crews off the Lazarus fleet. This was just the beginning. They had revealed their hand, and now they had to be prepared for whatever came next. The Arcturus Empire had been defeated, but would they return with an even greater force? And how would other galactic powers react to humanity's sudden rise as the Nemesis turned back towards Earth? Vega couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest challenges still lay ahead, but for now at least, humanity could rest easy. The Guardians were awake and they would not slumber. Again, the first strike back. The war room deep within Earth's central command was a hive of activity. Holograms flickered, showing real-time updates from across gnome space. At the center of it all stood Admiral Zara Vega, her face etched with determination as she addressed the assembled military and political leaders. The Arcturus Empire has retreated, but we can't assume they're defeated, Vega stated, her voice carrying across the room. Our intelligence suggests they're regrouping, possibly preparing for a larger assault. Counselor Alina Chen leaned forward, her eyes narrowed. What are you proposing, Admiral Vega? took a deep breath. What she was about to suggest went against decades of human policy. We need to take the fight to them, a preemptive strike at the heart of their empire. The room erupted in a cacophony of voices, some in agreement, others in vehement opposition. It was a VAI of the Nemesis who silenced the debate with its calm, synthesized voice. If I may, I interjected, its holographic avatar materializing above the central table, analyzed all available data. On Arcturus military capabilities and strategies, there's an 87.6% probability that they will launch a major offensive within the next 30 Earth days. A preemptive strike could reduce that probability to less than 12%. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. It was Counselor Chen who finally spoke. Very well, Admiral, you have your authorization, but remember, this is not about conquest. Our goal is to secure a lasting peace. Vega nodded solemnly. Understood, Counselor. Will depart immediately as the Lazarus fleet prepared for its first offensive mission. Tensions ran high. The ships had proven themselves in defense of Earth, but taking the fight to enemy territory was another matter entirely. Aboard the Nemesis, Vega stood on the bridge watching as her crew made final preparations. Commander Rashid Khan approached, datapad in hand. Final checks complete, Admiral. He reported all ships report ready for hyperspace jump. Vega nodded. Very good, Commander A. Initiate jump. Sequin acknowledged, Admiral. The AI responded. Hyperspace calculations. Campbell. Jump in. 3, 2, 1. The fleet vanished in a burst of light, leaving Thessalar system behind for what seemed like an eternity. They hurtled through the fabric of space-time. Then with a flash they emerged in the heart of Arcturus space before them. Arcturus Prime, the heavily fortified capital world of the Empire surrounding it, was the largest concentration of Arcturus warships ever assembled, a force that would have overwhelmed any conventional fleet. But the Lazarus fleet was far from conventional. Battle formations vigordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Initiatoration Thunderbolt. The A's response was immediate, initiating Operation Thunderbolt. All ships moving into position. What followed was a display of tactics and technology that would best studied in more colleges for centuries to come. The Lazarus ships moved with impossible precision, their AI working in perfect harmony to exploit every weakness in the Arcturus defenses. Advanced ECM suites scrambled Arcturus communications, leaving their massive fleet in disarray. Swarms of autonomous drones darted between the larger ships, wreaking havoc on enemy systems, and all the while the main guns of the Lazarus ships pounded away at key tactical targets, each shot guided by predictive algorithms that seemed to border on precognition. On the bridge of the Nemesis, the Vega watched the battle unfold with a mixture of awe and trepidation. The sheer scale of the conflict was overwhelming, even with advanced systems at her disposal. Admiral Araya's voice cut through the chaos. I've allocated the Arcturus Command Center. It appears to be a space station in high orbit over the planet. Vega's ice narrowed. Can we disable it without destroying it? Affirmative, Era replied. I've calculated a series of precision strikes that should neutralize their defenses and propulsion without causing catastrophic damage. Do it, Vega ordered. The Nemesis turned its main gun, sliding on the distant station. A series of energy pulses lashed out, each own striking with surgical precision. Within moments, the Arcturus Command Center hung dead in space, its lights flickering in escape pods jettisoning in all directions as if a string had been cut. The coordination of the Arcturus fleet began. Two falter ships collided. Friendly fire incidents molted, and whole squadrons began to retreat. Their breaking, Admiral. Commander Khan reported, a note of disbelief in his voice. The entire Arcturus fleet is in disarray. Vega allowed herself a small smile. Send the message, Commander. Let's see if they're ready to talk. Moments later, Vega found herself face to face with the Supreme Commander of the Arcturus forces, its multiple eyes wide with a mixture of fear and grudging respect. How the alien surrender dined. How did you defeat us so easily? Vega's response was measured. We didn't want this war, Commander. We prepared for it because we had to. Now we're offering you a choice: surrender and help us forge a lasting peace, or continue this conflict and face annihilation. The Arcturus commander was silent for a long moment, its alien feature as in Roddle. Then slowly, it lowered its head in a gesture of submission. was a render. It set its voice heavy with defeat. The Arcturus Empire yields to New Order Earth and its allies. As news of the victory spread across human space's celebrations erupted on every world and station. Humanity had not only defended itself but had brought a millennia-old empire to its knees, and in a matter of days, but for Admiral Zara and the crew of the Lazarus fleet, the work was far from over. They had won the war, but now came the far more complex task of securing the peace as the Nemesis turned back towards Earth. Vega couldn't help but wonder about the future. Humanity had proven itself a force to be reckoned with, but with great power came great responsibility. How would they use their newfound strength? And what new challenge awaited them in the vast, unexplored reaches of the galaxy? One thing was certain: the age of human isolation was over. For better or worse, Earth had taken its place among the great powers of the galaxy. The Lazarus fleet, once hidden away as a last resort, now stood as a symbol of human ingenuity and determination. The stars themselves seemed to burn brighter as the fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying with them the hopes and fears of an entire species, the brink of a new era, a new galactic order. The grand assembly hall of the newly formed Galactic Council buzzed with anticipation. Representatives from 100 different species filled the chamber, their diverse forms a testament to the pads and holographic screens throughout the chamber. Vega stepped back from the podium. She found herself standing next to the Arcturus representative. Once sworn enemy, did you ever imagine we'd end up here? The alien asked, its multiple eyes blinking. In what Vega had come to recognize as amusement, she shook her head. Never, but I'm glad we did. As discussions began in earnest, Vega couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Road to this moment had been long and fraught with danger. There had been times when it seemed peace would never be achieved, but humanity's resilience, their ability to innovate and adapt, had seen them through. The Lazarus fleet, once a dark secret, now patrolled the space lanes openly, its advanced technology shared with their allies. The eyes like Arhad, proven to be not just tools of war, but invaluable partners in peace, and Earth, once a relatively isolated world on the fringes of known space, now stood at the center of a new galactic community. As the session progressed, it became clear that the charter would be ratified. A new era was dawning, one of unprecedented cooperation and progressing. New era. There would be challenges ahead, of course. New threats might emerge from the darkness between the stars, but wait for came. They would face it together. Admiral Zar Vega, hero of the Arcturus War and architect of peace, looked out over the assembled delegates and allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. Humanity had not just survived its trial by fire, it had emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to live the galaxy into a brighter future. As the final votes were tallied and the Galactic Charter was officially adopted, a cheer went up from the assembled delegates. In that moment, the boundaries between species seemed to fade away. They were no longer humans, Arcturians, Genlor, any other individual race. They were at last truly united. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter as news of the historic moments spread across the galaxy. A new chapter in cosmic history had begun, and humanity, once a small race on a small planet in a vast universe, was helping to write it. The future, with all its infinite possibilities, awaited.